I think we're live. We're going live. We're live. I can't believe I'm on your channel, bro.
All
Jason
right.
Anick, the magic of Django jazz and all jazz and folk styles and everything. Jason Anick, I get to be on your channel. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And if you're okay with it, because this is your channel, and I respect you, bro. What I want to do is be able to get ask you some questions about how
hmm
you practice, have you show some things to the viewers, but also I might show them some of the ways that I practice and give them some things that they can work on, like actually, so anybody there watching, if you got your instrument, you can get it out. And then obviously part of the reason I wanted to be here was so that we could talk about getting people to come to Asheville, North Carolina to hang out with you and me this summer for 5 days, the beginning of July, at the Crave Strings Workshop. So thanks for having me.
Sounds like fun. Yeah, it's great to have you, Chris. Good to see you again. And I can't believe we're only a couple months away from Creative Strings. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be blast. I can't wait. Last year was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Epic jam sessions, great classes, good hangs, great conversations about music, and we went deep into the night, just having fun, having laughs, and enjoying some some camaraderie, and it's just great to be with a lot of like-minded people who just want to figure out how string instruments fit into the creative string world and all things, even if you do classical, but all things beyond that. And jazz, I'll be doing some Django improv, and you'll be doing your thing, which is always incredible. But yeah, let's do this. We're live on my channel. Happy to have you at Magic Fiddle, um, and happy to have some folks tuning in, and as we chat about the camp as well as do some demos, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, real quick, I just want to reflect back for people, like they may not know. Like I met you at Fiddle Camp when you were like 14 or 15 years old, maybe 16. And I mean, I just want to tell for people that might not know this about Jason. Like I will never forget meeting you and how hungry you were for knowledge. And you would come up to me after the end of class at Fiddle Camp and you'd be like, tell me about this and how do you do this and how did you do that and what should I work on? And you would practice, like it would be classes all day, but then you would go and practice and you'd come back the next day to class and be like, I worked on this stuff last night. Did I do it right? Did I do it right? What's next? You know? And so for people out there that are saying, oh my gosh, Jason Anick is such an amazing, multi-purpose musician, which you are. I just want to say, like, I've seen you, all the work that you've put in. Like you've put in the work. And that's one of the main messages I would want to convey to anybody watching. Like it's not magic for either of us. Like we know, like we've worked hard and there's certain ways of being more effective in our practice and ways of not being as effective. And I
hmm
think we both share a lot of those some strategies, and we also have some differences in how we approach those strategies. So I'd love to share those with people here in a minute. But also I want to just reflect a thing about camp.
Mm.
It's like once per year to be able to come together and be like, how's it going? And how are we making sense of this thing called life as musicians, in all the various ways? Because we're both dads and
Mm.
we have, like, we both love our families and are really committed to just like having a family life, but we're also really committed to our dream as being artists, as being playing music and all the things that comes out of that. And so I personally just love the chance to get to see you that one time a year when we're not so distracted by everything else and we can just play music, let everything else go, and like get our bearings. And so for anybody tuning in, again, you can come hang out with me and Jason in Asheville the first week of July, at the Creative Strings Workshop. And hopefully we'll have a link here, or
hmm
if you comment if you want to email me, chris@christianhouse.com, I can tell you how to get there. If you want to call me, I'll even tell you my phone number. It's 614-332-8689. My phone number. You just text me if you're in the United States, or even WhatsApp, like whatever. My phone number is 614-332-8689. It's right here. So you text me, you call me, we'll get on the phone, we'll talk about camp. I'll tell you whatever you need to know. All right,
I
so
love it.
now, is it okay with you, Jason, if I show some people a couple things they can work on? Are you all right with that?
Sure. And I just want to point out, I mean, you've always been about access to you, your knowledge. You don't have anything to hide. You just want to share your love for music, your passion, and all the things that you've learned and your musical journey. You love just passing that on and seeing that, like with when I first met you, and you became a mentor and were giving me life advice as well as musical advice, and just how open and uh, willing you are to like bring people in and show that the sauce, the magic, and help people along. And that's a huge part of why I think your camps have been such a huge success, and you've just been a great mentor. So thanks for the access and just being so open with everybody and bringing people in and helping them along their journeys.
Thank you. Well, that in and of itself for me is a journey, right? Like we're all on a journey as humans, and trying to be comfortable in our skin and trying to do our best, but also do our best for others and help them do their best. And I'll just say that it's something I strive for, and it's not instantaneous or immediate or 100%. It's something I'm always trying to get better at. But I want to show, for anybody that's here, I want to show a couple little exercises you can do. And the first one is it's going to be in the key of F major. And so the idea of this exercise is to play slowly inside of a form, which will be the form we can call any notes in the F major scale. And this particular loop that I made sounds like this. And the chord progression, which you don't need to know, is just going from a G minor 7 to a C7. And it happens to be in 5, but I don't want that to throw you off either. So 1, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. So here's a way we could start with this form. And so anybody listening, you can do this with me. So if you've got your instrument, you just think about the notes in the F major scale, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, when B is flat, and you just grab any one of those notes, and we'll just hold a note for 5 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Just any random note from the F major scale. It's really helps us focus. If we put ourselves into clear constraints that are easy enough to do. And once we're in that constraint, so just keep holding a note. 5, 1, 2. Like you're counting 5 and you're playing a note. You have to choose that note from the F major scale. Then you get to focus on your rhythm, your sound, your intonation, your vibrato, right? All the things that any classical violin player would want to be working on. You can do that in the context of taking more responsibility for the music, besides just playing off the page. Like you're choosing. And then we can build up from that. We can add more variations. So let's add each quarter note. We'll play a random notes from the F major scale on quarter notes. So try that if you're listening. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Just recurring quarter notes from the key of F major. Now, if you want to stretch this out, you could add eighth notes. playing eighth notes from the key of F major. But again, you can focus on your articulation, your sound, your vibrato. I mean, you could be shifting. You could be doing this with thirds and sixths if you want. So you get all the benefits of technical maintenance, but also all the benefits of changing your mind to be improvising, to be discovering as a composer while you're practicing. So in my opinion, the value of this is that we're integrating in the way that we would if we were playing over a song, right? Because obviously if you hear Jason playing like a fantastic solo over a song, well, it's kind of similar to what we're doing right here, but it's just more complex. The form is more complex. So a lot of people, I find, well, first of all, I'll say one of the problems that I see, and I'll be interested in your take on this,
absolutely,
is a lot of times people will try to play, let's say, on a tune like Nuage, or what's another, like All of Me. They'll try to play on a tune like All of Me, or like one of these like famous tunes, right? But I think that they haven't yet learned enough knowledge to be able to navigate the tune effectively. Like they haven't really learned the chord voicings or like different scales that would apply and how to make them work at a certain tempo. And so they kind of just flail. And I had this experience. That's why I can relate to it, because I just would just flounder, is flounder a word, and just flail, and I would just fail. I would just fail over and over and over and over again, because I was trying to play over a progression that I wasn't comfortable with yet. And so the reason I like to get people into this type of form that's much simpler is to give them the ability to kind of win and not fail. And then we can rise up our level gradually as we learn more complex materials as we take time. What's your take on that, though? Because I'd like
100%. Yeah, I think that's a great exercise. And I want to point out a few things, like, obviously, well, first off, like from a practical standpoint, people could find YouTube backing tracks that are in one key center. I think the idea of like what I call, when I'm teaching, I call them deep dives. So you're kind of really doing a deep dive, really trying to tap into your creative side of things. Like, so you have this balance. I think of practice for improvisation is a seesaw of constraint creativity. I think about that all the time. So you mentioned those two things, right? So this idea of balancing, you're trying to be as creative as you can within a constraint. So at first you constrain yourself more and start to just loosen up and allow yourself to let go a little bit. So let go of the expectation of, oh, it's just going to be an F3 octave scale, and then I'll move on. No, it's like, okay, no, it's going to loop, really sink into the rhythmic feel, but you're still within the confines of maybe, we talked a lot about extended range is a good thing for people starting, which is kind of your lowest chord tone in first position to your highest chord tone in first position. And that's a good range. Like, limit your range even. You don't even have to shift. And just really find a note in the scale and sit with it. And what's cool is you might find a note that has a little more color, or is like creates an interesting tension. Live with that. Like, feel that. Be present with it. And then also just enjoy it. Like, I like this idea that you can be working on stuff and really be working that creative side and have a lot of fun doing it, right? No one's telling you the next note of the scale has to be this or that. Like, you have agency with it, and it's just, you have to be present. I think that's such an important thing. And I think an exercise like this is something of the nature of like creating a loop that stays in one key. You're less about your brain, you're more about just being present and exploring and just trying to, like you said, I like the idea too of like having some wins, right? Oh, I didn't expect to hit this note in the scale, but it sounds really cool. And that unpredictability and combining kind of things, like we kind of probably have a decent layout of like in first position where the notes are, but we don't always know like if we go there or different combinations, or surprise yourself. And I remember you like to do some things of like randomize, like like, okay, you can do thirds and you can do fourths, you can do scales and sixths. Those are great, but it's also nice to do random, like jump farther than you think, you know. Or things I like would be like only stay on two strings and see what happens. So that's all part of like constraint creativity, but in general, that exercise, what's really great is you can get into a meditative state, being in one key center, be really present, and do like a real deep dive and think about this balance of constraint. So we're in one key, we have one groove, cyclical groove, but how creative can we be? Can we get into that space? Because like there's something in our brain that happens when we're in that creative zone, and that's where we want people to be more often. And it
Totally.
does happen, as you said, it happens over time, over changes. So now when I'm, people are like, how do you play over a song like All of Me? Like, aren't you just thinking all the time? And I'm like, I do thinking in the practice room. I've gotten to that state where it's almost just like you're in the flow of just like one groove, one key center, that comfort level put over now the form and the chords and over, and you could change the rhythmic groove, but like, yeah, we're not thinking. So like, I think an exercise like this is good to like 5-10 minutes as part of your practice, like it just some sort of thing. I also like to do it with drones. Like if you go, like cello drones are really satisfying. Those are on YouTube. I do those with students. That's a great exercise. And just explore playing against drones, which are usually like open fifths, that kind of sound is another way to do it. But finding one chord jams are really, really good to work on, and just do those deep dives. Absolutely.
Yeah, and actually, I love what you said um, about constraints and creativity. And I want to add one thing to that, which is I think that a lot of times we might think that getting into a creative flow state is something that where we just imagine so many ideas. But I'd actually like to offer a tweak to that, which is that if I go back into this groove again and I say, okay, I'm going to constrain myself to quarter notes and rests by having that additional constraint of only playing quarter notes and rests, it actually helps me be more creative. So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just like if you have to limit yourself to two strings,
yeah,
you have to find creative ways to make it musical and interesting. And yeah, limitations, setting limitations for yourself. I do think that if you just said, here's a groove and just be free and do anything, that's also can be stifling because it can be too much, right? But like I like that. Like constraint, the balance works together. So like by constraining, you can be also more and more creative as well. I think that's really important to point out for sure.
for anybody that tunes in, and I hope this won't get annoying, but we just want to make sure you know that we're here to promote the camp that we're going to be at together. That you can come hang out with me and Jason and our friends for a week in early July. July, and this is a tradition in Asheville, North Carolina. So if you want to find out about it, comment or reach out to us. If you go to christianhouse.com and you look on my events, then you can find it there. Or you can text me at my phone number, 614-332-8689. 614-332-8689. Or reach out to Jason, like send him a message, whatever. Now, you talked about extended range, and I want to demonstrate something about that really quick. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
All right. So Jason talked about extended range on chord tones, but I want to talk about extended range also in just the major scale, because I think that people underestimate, number one, how useful the major scale is, and number two, how challenging it is for them personally. So here's an exercise. If you think you know the major scale, this is going to help you confirm or deny it and to know whether and what to work on. So extended range on the violin in first position goes from G to B. That's it, right? So if I do G major extended range, Now, what I want to challenge you to do is, can you play from G to B in all 12 keys? Right? And I'm not sure if you've done it. You probably, I know you can do this, but I'm not sure if you've ever thought about practicing it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think, okay, E major has three sharps. So is it three or four? Maybe four sharps. Yeah, sorry. So now, but I don't know the numbers, but I know I can do this though. E major, F major, C major, so A major. Now I'm gonna probably mess this up, but I'm gonna do F sharp major.
Everyone's
Oh, yeah, I
favorite
gotta
key.
practice that. B major, right? So
Yeah, it's
that's
great.
extended range. And now, and then once you can do that, or parallel to that, and then I want to get your take on this.
Hmm.
I like to suggest taking each of these scales and doing a pattern, which is just simply an 8-note pattern. So I'll go back to the one that I need to practice, which is F sharp major, right? So it's just, we're going to start from here, and then we go to the next. And so this is, the major scale, which everybody thinks they know, but we don't really know it as well as we can. And to me, this is like such a valuable
I
breakthrough.
was literally practicing this yesterday.
Please share.
Yeah,
Please.
I mean, I call them like staggered scales, right? And actually, like we mentioned earlier that I first met you when we were 15, and I was like eager, like I need, like, tell me what to practice, what to work on. And yeah, I remember you talking about staggered scales, and the same thing with like doing that with arpeggios, you know. Right, and I still to this day practice those a lot. I think they're great on so many levels. But yeah, staggered scales as well in this extended range, so important to practice. Um, what is it doing? Not only does it build technical facility, builds our ear to hear the scale from different places, but it's giving you options, right? A major scale has a lot of
Knowledge.
options and giving you knowledge, giving you information, things to work with. It's giving you that toolbox. So yeah, it's if you do staggered scales in extended range, you'll realize how much is there. There's so much there that's ready to be accessed, for your solos, and it's so great to explore for sure. I'm a big fan of doing staggered scales, staggered arpeggios, and and sometimes I'll use them at like as warm ups. Sometimes I'll, like you said, oh, this is a good key to like refresh, G flat or F sharp. Sometimes I'll do it as a refresh. But yeah, I'm a big fan of also just doing things through the circle of fifths. I'm sure as well that's something you like to do. Um, and one of my go-to exercises for like circle of fists, something that you like, if you come to Creative Strings, these will work on like circle of fists together. Like these are things that when violin nerds get together, we'll harmonize the circle of fists together. That's the kind of stuff we'll be doing at like 3 a.m. And that's the kind of stuff you won't get in your normal day to day for sure. Um, but yeah, I you can do a simple thing where you don't do the full staggered, but you just go through the circle of fifths, and I'm a big fan of just triads at first, and just play through, just do. So we did C major from the root, but as well as the third. So it's not the full extended range we talked about. That's a good exercise, but as like a stepping stone into that, just this concept of seeing different inversions within one chord and seeing it's all a part of one giant set of notes. And I think Chris and I also have a very similar concept of that. Like we are big on like visualizing options. Like when we think of a scale, it's like we could like close our eyes and see the notes. We don't even need our instrument. We think about arpeggios, and I think staggered scales and arpeggios is a big way of like really mapping that out. So yeah, I mean, if you take this exercise, then you just do. I'll do a few keys, and then for homework, you can y'all can try it. Then you try F, B
I'm gonna play it
flat.
back. I'll play it back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody can play that from F.
A flat, D flat. This is getting fun. That's a little tricky for some people, like they're doing the half position. But yeah, that doing that D flat then G flat through the circles is a great little exercise. And like I just almost for like since I was 15, I would like do something through the circle of fifths, like staggered, and I would just like it's like oh, there's so much there, and just kind of exploring every key. And this is a great compliment in your practice to what you did at first, which was one key center, what I call like a deep dive. Um, I called like these circle of fifths things a surface dive because you're just doing like you're scratching the surface of each key.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my like how I my like how I call it, like how I name it. Even though that's like deep in itself, it's like either you're how long are you living in the key. Each key center is like a deep dive versus surface dive. So if you're moving quickly through the keys, I call that a surface dive.
Yeah.
And those are great things to practice. That's the kind of thing that's prepping you more for chord changes, like the change going from C going to F, where you're kind of moving quickly between key centers, and training like just seeing quickly. Oh, here's F, bam, I find the notes. Here's B flat, bam, I find the notes. And then the jam that you did, kind of in one key center, is kind of just allowing you to live in one space. And both are super valuable. And I 100% do both in my practice. Both of these types of, I kind of separate them because they do different things. Yeah. But both are extremely valuable.
No, that's great. Thank you. And I actually, there's something that comes up for me around this. Like, I mean, if people come and join us at camp, one of the values I think that's in it for people is you say, I'm setting these 5 days and just for me, just to devote to my practice. And, like the exercise that you just showed right there, like people could try, there's value in trying to play back and use your ears and use your brain and try to think through it. But also there's value in getting like Jason's books where he just has them on a page so that you can play them at your own pace and like do them. But there's another thing though. There's this big thing that I think people don't talk about as much, which is about, are you going to practice? And so I kind of want to get your take on this because I think that for a lot of people, it's just an emotional resistance that people don't want to practice. And I can relate to that. It's like we want to practice, but we don't practice.
In theory. Yeah. It's like in theory, I know I should. And more
exactly.
people feel like they should versus they want to.
Yeah. And I think that's, I mean, just observing you from afar, it's one of the things, again, it's part of why I think you're so great is because you have a dedication to practice. And I think that people don't, well, first of all, that's part of what makes you, I think, exemplary is the fact that you have this discipline and that you're always shedding. As long as I've known you, I mean, I'm 30 something. I don't know, 30 years, maybe 25 years. Well, I'm not going to ask how old you are on in public, but because I don't know if that's polite. But I mean, at least 25 years. I feel. Yeah, around there. So, but people don't talk about this as much, though, right? I think a lot of people watching right now, you're thinking like, yeah, I want to get better, but then you don't practice, right? Or if you do practice, you're not practicing the things that are going to help you get better at the things that you say you want to get better at. Like you're
Mm,
just still working on like maybe you're going through the motions playing like your solo Bach, or you're going through the motions playing like your old like scale practices out of a book or whatever, or just playing the songs like the melodies to songs that you know. But you're saying that you want to be able to improvise, or you want to be able to learn chord
mm.
progressions, or you want to be able to learn more tunes, or you want to be able to do comping, but you're not practicing those things, right? And I'm speaking from love because like I can relate to that. And so the value of coming to camp again is you're going to set aside 5 days. There's not going to be anything getting in your way, no distractions. You're just going to show up and you're going to see Jason, and he's going to be like, let's go. And like wherever you're at that day, he's going to be like, let's go. We're at wherever we're at, and we're just going to shed now. So
100%.
you teach at Berkeley, and I used to teach at Berkeley. So
Hmm.
your observations around, I'm curious your observations around this concept of the emotional resistance that gets in the way of people practicing.
Oh yeah, I mean it's real. It is 100% real. But yeah, just to follow up on like I remember at camp, people are like, all right, I have a practice. I'm developing a practice plan for like the next year. Like they do that at camp because you get a year's worth of information, maybe a lifetime's worth, depending on how you you parse it out. But yeah, it is that much information that you get at these camps, and you could develop a practice plan. A lot of people, even if people are like, I love practicing, but I don't know what to practice, we help with that. And then there's what you're talking about, which is kind of the people having just like a negative relationship to practice and want to just practice what's comfortable, or what's what's easy. And there is something to be said about like having something in your practice that gives you that win and is like just like wakes you up. Maybe it's your warm up, but it shouldn't be your only practice because then you're not
Playing
gonna.
for fun, and also play like
Yeah,
I like to say like, hey, but if you want to play for fun, by all means play for fun. Like do as much playing for fun as you want, but just call it playing for fun and call practice practice,
so
right?
here's what I did, and I'm big on perspective. Like that's been my superpower. I feel like over the years is like perspective. So like where somebody's perspective on something will be like negative, mine I could like figure out a way of spinning it and making it like a positive. And so practice at some point for me flipped from like um like things like I'm down on myself or I'm not this, and having like a more of a negative relationship to it, to thinking like, okay, so like if I think about like elite athletes, they're training all the time too, and they like get in the zone when they're training, and like, and that can be of course difficult, but also like that is such like it's like a high for our brain. It's like a it's like it can be a really like a positive thing that we get. It's like very exciting, it's invigorating, it wakes our brain up, and you can feel great if you allow it and you open yourself up to practicing. And like when things are difficult, that you like get like a jolt because it's so exciting, because you're waking your brain up and you're like so present. um and it's almost also like I'm not a regular meditator or anything, but people who meditate on the reg, I mean, they're also training their ability to like be super focused, very very present. And there's so much like they get so much out of that. So in a way, I actually flipped and thought of practice as meditation, even when it's the difficult thing. So I thought like it's both meditation and it's also um like you're going for a long run and that's going to be hard, but at the end you're like, you feel great after. And I also don't want to feel like you're practicing to chase that. Like that's also a negative thing too, of like, that gets into a whole nother world. But just the idea of being able to have a positive relationship, you're waking your brain up, and think about all the distractions in life. Like you look at you look at the news and it's like, oh, um it's such a great escape, just like that like level of focus where you can train your brain that there's nothing else. This kind of I like to get like train myself to practice where I'm like, close my eyes, I'm really into something, and someone could sneak up on me and I wouldn't know that they're there. That's like how much I'm in the world of the music at the time, that like I'm not letting any other things come in. So that's the kind of practice that I feel the best after, and I enjoy it. And I've wired my brain to do hard things that way. And I also still like to practice things that I'm good at as well, or like maybe they're warm ups or they wake up my hand or they just like remind me about good posture and good tone. Those are also really good things, but I'm always so present with them and I'm like listening to my body. But to like really keep pushing, and honestly, I still push myself like, and life gets in the way as far as like it's a balance when you have a kid and you're trying to balance everything. Things get tricky, and so I'm a little more efficient with my practice. So I'm practicing less, but I'm like that level of focus that I've trained has been so important because I can get right to like what I need to do in an hour or two. Whereas back in the day, like when I met you, I was like I couldn't put it down, 6, 7 hours, and then I was playing all the time. And I think those moments in your life where you can have that time is awesome. Um, so yeah, I just retrained my brain to really enjoy practice. Think of it, it's like you're so present and
But a
you can
lot of
really
but there's a
enjoy
lot
it.
of people, but I think there's a lot of people because I've struggled with this. I think there's a lot of people that struggle to find that sense of this is a habit and this is something that I'm
Mm,
comfortable doing. Again, I think it's one of the things that sets you apart is that you found that early. You're like, I like to practice, and you found a way where there's nothing that's blocking you from that. But I think a lot of people feel blocked emotionally around, and as you said, like they have a negative relationship
mm,
emotionally with practicing. And here's what I want to say to those people: you can cross that bridge,
mm-hmm.
and one way to do that is to get support. And you can do that at a camp. You can also take lessons from Jason, or you can take lessons from me, and then that can be a way to do it. But if you come to a camp, you're going to have 5 solid days where it's like it's all you're doing. You're going to feel that rush. So it's just another reason to come to camp. Um, and I just want to say for the people out there that struggle with practicing, again, as Jason said, like we can tell you, like we can help you figure out, hey, no, don't practice this, or practice this, and here's how to do it to make it the most easy for you to get it, so it's not just confusing. Like we can
Yeah.
help you with that, but I'm saying there's more than that. We want to get you into, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
and peace and in the zone of practicing, and you can get there, but you're not abnormal if you're struggling with that. That's what I want you to hear. That is a normal human struggle. We've all been conditioned, we've all been programmed through our life in different experiences where we have anxiety or fear or self-comparison or inner criticism. And if you
Mm-hmm.
feel those things, it's okay. Like, right? Like, but I
Yeah.
I promise you, if you work with Jason or me, like we don't judge you. We just see you as the incredible potential that you have. And we see you as a multi-dimensional person. And we don't care just because you can play a bebop scale at 300 BPM. It really doesn't matter to us. We see
Mm-hmm.
you as a human being. We respect you for who you are. You're multi-dimensional. But we want to help you get that relationship with practice and push through those emotional obstacles. What do you think about that?
100%. And it also brought up something that I helped me a lot, but also I pass on a lot about it because you mentioned this. A lot of people, especially even at a camp, you're going to do that. Like, oh, this person's been playing jazz 3 more years as me, or this and that. But what I say is, um, everybody is on their own musical journey, and this is the thing, is that you have to own it. Nobody's going to have your history. If you're playing with your own personality and your own history, that's in every note, that's in every solo, that's in every song you play. Nobody has the same upbringing, nobody has the same parents or the same friends or the same life experiences, good and bad and in between. That is what shapes us, so that you have to hold on to those as well and understand like those are the most important things, and then all these other things that we talk about, like that are like, oh, circle of fifths and scales and this, these are just ways of like elevating your story and like allowing you to paint with more colors and tell your story in different ways. But that's what, at the end of the day, it's that. So like it doesn't even matter, because that was something that I used to do. I mean, when I first met you, Chris, I also Billy Contreras was there too, and he was somebody that started even younger than me. And I could have done two things. I could have either said, I give up. Like I'll never be like that, because he was already like years ahead of me when I was like starting my journey. Or I could say, I'm lucky enough to hang out with Billy Contreras. And that was like a thing that I like a perspective I flipped. Like, what can I learn that he's doing that will add to my story? And I was like, that also helped me. It's like, oh, like somebody like a Billy Contreras will be Billy, and I love that, and I can learn from that. But I will always be me, and we can learn from each other. So all the other campers that you participate with, you can make it a positive. Like, oh, this person's has been to camp before, and this is my first time. They can show me the ropes. They can teach me some things. We can learn from each other, even if I'm newer to it, and that's so important. And yeah, just remembering that your story, your history, your human qualities is the most important thing at the end of the day. And no one can take that away from you. And that, if you always have that at the core, that's how you develop, to me, how you develop a healthy relationship to it. So then you say, oh, okay, now like make sure that's you understand that message and that you're that truth. Then you can bring in all these altered scales, diminished scales, all these things. Just again, like I said, add more colors and add more dimensions to what you can do and what you can do musically, and how you can tell you in different ways to tell your story. But that's to me like what really helped me, especially with like the comparison of other players out there. I was like, oh, nobody has my story and nobody has theirs, and that makes it beautiful. So
Yeah.
that's something that I wanted to add.
I love that. I think we should wrap it because
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful to you for making time for this today on your Magic Fiddle channel. And if I can just, if I may, everybody, we want to help you. So reach out to Jason. He has so many ways he can help you besides his YouTube channel. His books. He offers sometimes that's probably a way to take lessons with him or whatever. And same with me. I've got different ways I can help you if you're interested. But we want to invite you to come hang out with us for 5 days in Asheville, North Carolina, the first week of July. This summer, every summer, but it's coming up. And so if you're interested, there's a couple ways you can find out. You can go to my website, christianhouse.com, and just look for events, and you can follow there and you can find it. Or you can reach out to Jason, leave a comment or something. Go to his website, probably jasonanick.com,
Mm-hmm.
and message him. Say, hey, where's this camp at? Go to message me, chris@christianhouse.com. You can also text me on my cell phone. I'll just tell it to you. I'll tell you my cell phone number again. Just write it down. It's 614-332-8689. 614-332-8689. At the Creative Strings Workshop in Asheville, where Jason will be with me, we'll be teaching with a lot of our favorite other teachers and friends. It's very intimate. We limit it to 25 participants. And it's not just jazz. We do eclectic styles. So it's any style you want to do, whether it's folk music, whether it's jazz, whether it's Latin styles, whether it's pop, whether it's R&B, blues. Like really doesn't matter, because we're going to be teaching you all the same essential elements that go into all these styles,
Mm-hmm.
which is about harmony, improvisation, rhythm, accompaniment, arranging, composition, right? And the whole time you're going to obviously be developing technique on whatever instrument. And we don't care what instrument you have. So just consider this a really, from our hearts, invitation, because it's one of the most meaningful things in my life, Jason, that I get to hang out with you for those days, and I'm so grateful to you for bringing everything that you bring to it. So I want to thank you for that, and we want to share that with whoever's out there. If you want to come and have that experience with us, we would love it. So thanks again, Jason, for having me on.
Thanks. Good to see you, Chris.